Hey everybody, so hopefully you were watching the YouTube video. Just going to give everyone a few more seconds. We had a lot of people put themselves down for the notification for this one. I'm going to take as many questions as I can. I went through the complexities of the intercompany relationships and the claim form process that comes next as a result of my understanding. None of this should be treated as legal advice. None of this should be treated as investment advice, but I've just been trying to get to the bottom of the information to support creditors and myself and my claims and the those that were misrepresented in Series A as well, to understand exactly the relationships from here. At the same time, there's been a lot of updates. So I had my first meeting with the UCC, Nova Wharf, and Kirkland and the debtors to understand the various different parts of the plan and make sure I've got a correct understanding of the plan and the various different parts. We should be getting a disclosure statement very soon, so we can do more deep dives on that. We also have seen the settlement with custody. So if you're in custody, you should be going through the process to vote on whether you voluntarily want to settle. We had the Withhold settlement hit the court docket, which is essentially they get 15% up front, and then the rest of their claim becomes an earned creditor. And what else did we have? We had a regulatory update, which was good to see. I went through that in depth with regulatory counsel on how Nova Wharf wished to achieve compliance. And I asked them a lot of questions during the meeting as well. There are some very, very big challenges, but at the same time, we've also had I had meeting with at least 4 different syndicates of parties that also want to put together some kind of competing bid process, and making sure that they are in touch with the right people and making sure that they're in that process for when the stalking horse side does happen. So lots and lots and lots of updates. If you didn't watch the YouTube video, I went through, who the creditors have a relationship with, who the shareholders have a relationship with, and sorry to put some of you through any PTSD, but some of the old spaces that we used to do where Alex Mashinsky came out, because it helps us understand now that we have access to a lot more information, how he was thinking back then, and what it means right now to us. Okay, cool. So, Azar, do you want to just, if anyone has any questions right now, we're just going to take as many questions as we can. We'll, Azar, do you want to just bring up the first few people? Again, I really want to reiterate, just trying to give you information. It's got more complex, not legal advice, not investment advice, not tax advice. It's all going to play into what comes next. So the vital thing that I did want to get across is everybody that is a creditor certainly needs to look at their claim forms, from my understanding right now, because if you don't submit one, I don't think you can just rely on what we got before David Adler told everyone that they need to submit a claim form.
Okay, first speaker is Painted Tahoe.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Yes, thank you so much for holding this and your continued support of the community. My question is, I submitted a claim form with misrepresentation and fraud, but I didn't include Ponzi. And I learned the importance of Ponzi is that it might allow creditors that hold coins to have a claim to the mining business, and I'm wondering if you're going to include Ponzi in your claim.
All I would do is take that as thank you for sharing that information. I have no opinion on that right now. My understanding is that it doesn't really matter from here, because if it is a Ponzi or isn't a Ponzi, that would be determined in court. If that ends up with a Chapter 7, I personally believe that a controlled Chapter 11 liquidation or a reorg will be significantly better for creditors than a Chapter 7. And so whether that's included on the form or not, maybe you just use similar words to what the examiner did. If you remember, the examiner said they're not going to make a determination if it's a Ponzi or not. They use the word Ponzi-like, and they would put that in the examination report so that the judge can make a determination. And so I don't believe we exit Chapter 11 without understanding what the ruling would be on that. One of the per se creditors, and I don't know what clout it has, did put that through and filed a motion for that determination. For now, right, I'm just going to treat that as thanks for sharing that with everybody. But I really don't have a good enough understanding of whether I'll add that to my claim form for now.
Okay, thank you, Simon. And I just wanted to say, I want to remind you, I offered to do a free painting of your father, an oil painting. Love to do that as a thank you for all you've done.
Thank you so much. I'd really love that, actually. If you could DM Azad, because my DMs are just useless at the moment. I'd really, really like to take you up on that offer. Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah, I'm at painttahoe.com if you need to look. Okay.
Okay, Azad, can you follow on that?
Will do, definitely. Thank you very much for that. Next speaker, let's bring on Kurosh. Sorry.
Thank you, Azad. Can you hear me, Simon?
I can hear you well, yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for all the help you've been giving to me, personally speaking. I don't understand these technical jargons that you guys talk about. I'm just going to go through a series of things. I just want to understand that, have I understood you correctly today and for the past few months that I've been listening to you?
Okay, let's do it sentence by sentence, and I'll elaborate on each one.
Okay, look, I from UK, okay, and I have put down a few coins in Celsius. Am I a creditor? Is that what it means?
Yeah. So if you have money in Celsius,
no money, just
coin. Sorry, if you have coin, come on, man, Bitcoin's money. Sorry, but we get.
Okay. I thought it was investment.
Okay. Well, let's. If you have Bitcoin or any other coin or a stable coin in Celsius,
Right.
you are a creditor.
Perfect.
If you are not from the US, then you're you are definitely an earned creditor. The whole custody and withhold thing doesn't affect you in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, so I'm a creditor from UK. Now, I need a form. Where is this form? Because there was a form prior to your talk, I'm talking about a few months ago, where they said, oh, you don't need to send the form to us, and I was exempt from it. And I think I've actually deleted that from my computer. Is that the form that I need to fill in, or can someone just tell me? Because Celsius usually sends you forms, but I haven't received anything.
Yes, so from what I can tell, Celsius are keeping a bit quiet because I think it's got so complicated. They don't know what to say or what to do on this one, but hopefully it will become more clear as more is determined. But yes, by the 28th of April, my current understanding is you will need to file a form, and that form consists of stating what coins you think are owed to you, plus a supplementary document where you outline why you believe that you were misrepresented, fraud, and all these various other things in order to have a claim against all the other entities. Now, I believe that the UCC are going to answer this a lot clearer on Thursday. But yeah, where do you get that form? You get it from stretto.com. And I'm sure someone can pin it to the nest as they come up. But there will be a form, and the UCC, so attend their meeting on Thursday. The UCC, I believe, would be getting Celsius to message everybody and making sure they know how to complete that form. What I would say is the bar date is on the 28th of April, and I don't think anyone should be doing anything until we get closer to that deadline, because I think we're going to meet as creditors week after week, and we're going to crowdsource more information, and we're going to understand more. So I would say, don't do anything yet, because it's all very early, and we need to hear a lot more before it's filed.
One of my next questions was that is this a simple form in your opinion? And if it is, can somebody like yourself, or I know you don't want to give advice, but just put down on there that it's not an advice, and we can all copy it, because I'm not really sure what I'm doing here. Somebody could fill out, let's say with a simple thing of one BTC or something, and say this is what I would write, and everybody can, or I think at least I can copy it and send that across, because I'm not really sure what my rights are.
Yeah, so I hear you. So I think that Celsius or UCC should do that, and I know the UCC are listening in. They'll definitely be getting that question. And if they're not willing to do it, it's because they're not willing to take legal liability for if someone gets it wrong, which is everyone in these, litigious situations. No one's really looking to take responsibility, because you could say, I copied this and I got it wrong. It cost me money. I'm going to sue you. That's what everyone's trying to make sure doesn't happen. Having said that, I challenge Pete Nostop, and I think Aaron Bennett will put their videos out there, but I personally would like to see it from the UCC or Celsius themselves. But I don't think you're going to get that, because they can't tell you what they want you to sue them for. That has to be your lawyer that tells you that, and that's going to be the issue. So no one's going to commit to telling you copy it this way, because then if the case goes in a different direction, and I'm just sorry, but it sucks. That's how the system works. So we're going to put as much information out there. Yeah.
To be honest with you, that is disappointing, because it does suck, as you say, and most people don't even know that, let's say, one has any coins, never mind going to a lawyer and trying to get them involved in it. People who actually have to be quite specific on this field. But if they were to put out an example and say, look, this is what we're going for, and I think if there is so many of us, let's say 1,000, and they all have similar kind of form filled out, it will be a lot easier for the judge to have a look at it and say, okay, well, these people are kind of singing off the same hymn sheet here, rather than looking at everything individually. That's my opinion, but we'll just have to wait.
I think you should put your hand up on Thursday and say exactly what you said to me to the UCC and see what their answer is.
Okay. Now, the other thing is, do I understand that what we are claiming for is the 72.5% of what we've put down? And if so, what happens to the rest of it?
Okay, no. So the 72.5% is if you're in custody, and you're not in custody because you're not a US customer, and there was no that custody only relates to people that were in the US that had a very specific set of circumstances, and based upon their accreditation and securities laws. So forget that for now. You're an earn, and there is a plan that's being filed at the moment that they're going to propose to you of how you are treated. So you ignore the custody settlement, you ignore the withhold settlement, and you only get involved in the borrower settlement if you were involved in an outstanding loan. Otherwise, you're in earn, and there's going to be a plan and a disclosure statement, which is going to drive you insane, because it's going to be like a 700-page
Okay, you just confused me now, because I've quite made myself clear. I don't know whether I was a borrower. I never borrowed any money from them.
So you're not a borrower?
No, I just put the coin down, and the reason is I was really in Binance, and I got suckered in because I was getting about 1.5% or something, and I thought, 3 to 5 looks a lot more interesting, so I've moved it across. And every time I changed my mind, which I did on several occasions, every time I went to move my coin, it said, do you know what you're doing? If you were to do this and you make a mistake, you will lose your coin for forever, blah blah blah. And it kind of like I blacked out, and I went, nah, I'm not going to move my coin. I'm just going to leave it where it is. So I think I was tricked into it. If it was a simple transaction, I would have probably got my money out a lot earlier. But that's beside the point. Point is, I've just got money coins in there, and the coins been gathering. My BTC, apart from my ETH, everything else was earning BTC or equivalent to
Yeah. So
itself.
let me break it down for you, and then you have an earn claim against Celsius. It's nothing to do with Binance. If you took
Earn
money out
claim.
of Binance and you thought there was something wrong there, that would be a claim against Binance.
No, nothing. No, okay.
Yeah.
Binance is fine. Yeah.
Okay, you made that decision, unfortunately. I made that decision, and we're paying for it, and we're stuck in this process.
Yeah.
But it was based upon fraud, misrepresentation, and all sorts of fraudulent activities that we ended up in this position. And so you have a claim against the company that you signed the terms and conditions with,
Which
for you
is,
to get your Bitcoin back. So if you put 1 Bitcoin in, you'll put, I want 1 Bitcoin back. You're not going to get 1 Bitcoin back, though, because everyone wants their Bitcoin back, but unfortunately it's lost, and about 50% of it's gone. And what they want to do is they want to give us some shares in a company and try and make it back over time if that company succeeds. And you'll vote on whether you want that or not. Or they're just going to say, let's shut this shit down. Let's give you back some of your, let's say 50% of your Bitcoin, and let's liquidate everything in a controlled way. Or the government's going to take over and say, let's sell everything. Let's give you back some dollars, which is called Chapter 7. And you'll probably end up with maybe 40% rather than 50%, potentially. And if you get the plan, I'm really sorry it's complicated. I just don't know another way of explaining it. You'll get a lower recovery initially, but you'll get some shares, and hopefully they'll make back more for you over time. And they believe that they can turn this into a very good investment for you. And in order to put forward that case, they're creating a disclosure statement, which will be out to us. And it's going to be a very complicated, long document that we'll try and unpack. And then other companies are going to try and compete and say, no, we think we can do a better offer. We think we can do a better offer.
but the point is, I don't want to sell those coins, because if I do, I'll be subject to tax because I've sold it. And well, I don't think I will be, because I've actually bought it a lot more than what they're going to give me money for now if they were to sell it on current market. But all I'm saying is, I just want my coins back.
Yes. So you may get about 50% of your coin, between 30 and 50% of your Bitcoin back. And if you end up with shares, you may end up of buying some shares, which will have tax consequences. But if you're in a loss, you're going to have to speak to your tax advisor, and you may have a tax write-off. And unfortunately, I'm not qualified enough to give the advice in the UK of what that means, but there will be a tax consequence if you're located in the UK, and it may be a tax loss if you just get some coins back, or there may be some other type of transaction. Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot for that. Sorry, we had to take you down because we've got quite a few speakers who'd like to come up.
Yeah, I'm glad we did that, because I think there's people in the audience that maybe don't want to ask those questions. And I think it's the very dangerous thing. I know, because I've been at this for so long, that you just assume everyone knows everything. But I'm glad we did that. And then we can take some more questions. Thanks, Azad.
Right. Okay, so next speaker, in no particular order, let's get up S1CKO.
Hi, thanks for letting me speak. Hi, Simon. I've been following you for a while, and first of all, I just want to thank you. I know it's a very complicated process. Chapter 11 is not something that anybody wants to do. So I really appreciate that. So I'm not trying to gonna put you in a hard spot or anything like that. But I do want to kind of follow up in a question with you, especially about Bank Future and the investment we did through the investment of the first seed round that we had on Bank of the Future for Celsius. So to be honest with you, I am actually more interested in getting shares of the company but more shares of the company on the Celsius mining operation. Because I know the Celsius mining operation is Bitcoin mining, and I know if just stays long enough and I keep my shares, then it will probably just get value over time. What I wanted to ask you specifically is there is something that we have also through the vehicle that invests with Watch Bank in the future on the mining operation on Celsius. And if we did not, does the shares that we bought through Bank of the Future covers the whole holding of Celsius or just the part of Celsius, the platform, and that's it?
Yeah, so any shareholder that owns shares in, everybody invested into Celsius Network Limited, which is a UK company. Now, Creditors had a relationship with a subsidiary company, as was explained in the video. And what shareholders are entitled to or creditors are entitled to will be completely determined in court. So whether you want something or don't want something, that's just going to be determined in court. It's highly unlikely, still from my perspective, that shareholders have anything. The reason being is because there were some intercompany loans, which means that billions of dollars would have to be paid off before shareholders get entitlement to that potential mining operation. And Judge Glenn has said that there are two different defenses that will be fought in court to determine that recovery. So that's the current situation. And we don't know the answer to anything until it's determined in court.
Thank you. Next speaker. Let's bring on all these. It's difficult to pronounce the names, but it's ABRYCG. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. That's sorry. That's it's an old English source from Bristol, so it's Bristow. I'll just cut straight to the chase. From what Karush was saying earlier, I count myself as one person who really doesn't know the first thing about asserting claims of fraud, negligence, misrepresentation in the examiner report. Well, in our claim, using the examiner report, I can only assume it's just a matter of time until someone tries to put this through chat GPT and spit out something that we don't have to rely on a lawyer to pass on. I'm just wondering if that's something that the community can endorse. Maybe that's something we can do so that we can all be represented under one sort of blanket thing that chat GPT can just produce for us. So yeah, I'm just curious.
So last time there were 23,000 forms submitted for the last bar date, and there were lots of templates, and the community all got together and said, here's my circumstance. And there were different fractions. The borrowers put together some templates. The earned people put together some templates. Those that felt they were shafted through liquidated loans after the pause put together the templates. And so I think different fractions of the community will put together different templates. And then you'll be able to adjust those and attach that to your claim form. The claim form is where you just list your coins, and then there'll be a sub attachment where you state what different types of legal claims you want to put forward. And I think the community is going to help with that. And maybe AI can really help.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Yeah, that's all I really wanted to say. Thank you so much for hosting this space.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker. Let's bring on Natty.
Yes, you hear me? Hello, Sam.
Hey, Natty.
Hey, Dazed. I think you can find cause of action for the proof of claim in the complaint done by the New York State AG. So this is quite a good source, official. So I can pin that actually 27 March, 2 days ago, there has been an amended complaint done by the Attorney General of the state of New York. I was doing a tweet about it, so I'm going to pin that right now. There is also the previous tweet. Everybody is looking for a proof of claim template with the cause of action. So there was the Celsius loan group which were sharing some good I'm sure you can go through Celsius Loan Twitter account and you will find what you are looking for. I can share the UCC official link back in December where they shared the link to Streto, file a claim. This is the official link. And right now, as Simon explained, we have an amended motion for proof of claim with an extended date. So there is no rush. So take your time to gather information. And most importantly, if I wanted to ask you a question, is about the 3.5 billion intercompany loan. So basically, what I understood is that this is the LTD, the UK company, who owes this amount to the LLC, where the customer have a contract. That's correct?
I haven't actually seen a document. I think that's correct, but I haven't seen a document to prove that.
Mm-hmm. And
again,
so
part of the issue here is that the lack of documentation and the lack of transparency that we have received is very deliberate, because obviously Alex knew all these issues existed.
Okay, and if you can develop your analysis when you say that the shareholder are out of the money, if all the asset of Celsius represent less than 3.5 billion, they are out of the money. If it represents more, that would mean they would be able to get some money. Can you elaborate your thinking on that?
Yeah, so I think it's quite a theoretical situation at the moment, but obviously, I think that intercompany loan needs to be settled before there's any value there, and that could happen in a number of different ways that I don't think I fully worked out yet, and I wouldn't like to say in front of all different people until my thoughts are clear on it. But I think we're going to know in the weeks ahead. That's going to become clear, and I think the UCC should provide us such information.
Oh, but let's face the reality. If the shareholder get any value from this bankruptcy, it will be at the expense of general and secured creditors. There is no magic. There is no 100% asset here. That's correct, no?
Yeah, that's the current situation.
Mm-mm. And to correct the statement, and I will, if you can just keep me as a speaker for 1 minute, so I will pin the tweets for the cause of action and the official link for the proof of claim. There was the company the auditor Alvarez and Marshall North America LLC. So I have refound my tweet. Who assess the intercompany claim and bring them down from 9 billion to 3.5 billion. And so this Robert Campagna guy say the adjusted intercompany claim held by LCC against CNL. So this is LCC against CNL. So this is the LCC company was a claim of 3.5 against the UK company. So
okay, great. And to make it more complicated, my understanding is there was collateral relationships and loans as well. So funds were used as collateral for the loans. So that's why I'm really not keen until I can actually see it in black and white from either Celsius or the UCC to understand that relationship. Yeah. So we've got two options here. You either want to go down the geeky path and understand it, which some people will, and we'll get there, or you'll just rely upon what happens in court and it will be determined. So that's really the two different paths.
I will leave the professional. It will come in due course, as Christine Lagarde said.
Yeah, it certainly will.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good time. Give me 30 seconds. I drop the mic. Thank you very much.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Azad, Nate just wants to stay up because he's going to pin a few documents that will help people.
Sure thing. Okay, we've got Manny. If Manny would like to share a few words.
Oh, hello, everyone. So I guess the topic today is claims, huh? Well, that's kind of a funny topic because there are 3 Bellwether claimants that are kind of being used in this case to decide what happens to everybody's claims. And it's me, Rebecca Gallagher, and Daniel Frischberg. So basically, we are in conversations with the UCC and the debtors to Celsius to come up with some kind of schedule to deal with that. And of course, as everyone's been discussing, the deadline has been extended to April 28th. So it's likely we're going to amend our claims before that process moves forward. But I would actually expect this to be a big part of the case at some point in the next 1 to 3 months. Essentially, it may be divided into pieces. It may sort of be similar to the custody or withhold litigation in some ways, where there's going to be like different briefed issues and that kind of thing. Depending how the early phases go, they may try to throw things out at an earlier stage, or it may go further along in the process. Because it's just really complicated and there's lots of claims, and it's because of all of us, because we all filed tons of thousands of claims. So basically, my understanding is like, it's sort of like, because we'll fight our claims, then that they want sort of not to just have claims that are just are going to be dismissed by default or something. But I still just want, I still think I'm optimistic maybe that we could talk about having other classes in the case or settling or something like that. There might be, I'm curious what people think, like, should those who file a credible claim be able to get a little bit more? Should we contribute it to a litigation trust, all rights reserved? Or should we really just treat everyone the same? I'd love to hear what people think. I continue to try to get a better outcome for Oliver. And so, I'm curious what people think actually on this call. How we should handle these claims. Obviously, with what's gone on, we kind of have to file claims for now because we haven't, at least in my opinion, not legal advice, but we still don't have the preferred equity stuff resolved. We still don't have.
Manny, I covered all that on the YouTube video really in depth.
Yeah.
So if you didn't watch the YouTube
cool.
video,
so then I would just throw the question out there about what should we do with our claims, right? It's kind of an interesting question for people.
Well, the UCC are telling us that we have a claim for our coins against LLC, and then we have a claim against all the other entities as creditors. And they suggested fraud, misrepresentation, negligence, and various other things.
Hello?
So, yeah.
Hi.
Okay, next speaker, let's bring on ncrow.eth. Can you hear us?
Hello, yes, can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay, Simon, so the question is, now that there's been a controversial decision by Judge Glenn in regard to which part of Celsius owes which customers, would it be still advisable to revisit suing Celsius Limited within the UK courts and basically force the Alex machines hands that way through different jurisdictions?
Yeah, don't feel qualified to give that advice, unfortunately. We'd have to bring up a lawyer on that side.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker is Stephen Ivan.
Hello, can you hear me?
Can hear you, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Simon, again, for everything and your video, which made all that very confusing legal matters clear as mud for all of us who are not involved with this. But it was very good. I do appreciate that. And I don't know if you saw a tweet I put out a few days ago how I feel sorry that you have so much Bitcoin locked on the Celsius platform, but I'm kind of thankful you do because you're on the same bus as we are. And Alex used to say he's on the bus with all the creditors, but we know that was a lie. So from my point of view, and probably from a lot of people, we just really are thankful that you're able to take on this fight because you are very well equipped to do so. So thank you for that. I have one question, and maybe it has been explained because I have your page of your video you did today when you're breaking down the terms of use that we all signed or that was given to all creditors to sign. It's interesting because it says last revised date, September 29th, 2022, which is my birthday. I just kind of noticed that. So happy birthday. But
Oh,
my
geez.
question, my question would be along the lines of the claim coming up. When we filled out this claim, as probably 99% of us do, we just don't read through all the, the little details, and we don't go down into the very bottom of all the information. We just, we trust the platform, or we did.
It's a really bad line, actually. It's coming across quite bad.
Okay, 1 second. I'm going to fix that.
I can't.
Okay, cool.
That sounds better. But if you could just state your question, Stephen.
Yeah, my question is the terms of use. When we signed it, is there?
Yeah, it's really quiet, unfortunately. Okay, I think we'll have to go to another one.
Sorry about that, Stephen. Okay, let's get the next speaker. Let's go for Hilux level.
Yes, hi, Simon and everyone. From watching the related video, hopefully, yes, before end of April, we will collectively have enough templates to assist us in filing a claim. The question is, after the claim is submitted, how likely, in your opinion, is it that we would need a lawyer to move things forward? This is concerning because unless there's some kind of equivalent of a class action lawsuit, wouldn't each of the hundreds of thousands of customers who file a claim need their own lawyer? And wouldn't that totally slow everything down with everybody objecting and amending? Just want your thoughts.
Yeah, I think this is a question for the UCC. It's definitely a question for a litigation and bankruptcy lawyer, which I would just be seeking advice on something. I don't think I've got much to add here. But what the UCC has told us is that we need to reserve the right to sue for that in the claim form. And then whether that gets transferred to the litigation trust as part of a planned settlement, probably quite likely. But for now, I think it's about holding on to that claim, which is the claim against your coins and the claim against other entities. And then the UCC, I think, would need to provide some guidance. And then that guidance you'd have to determine either by yourself or with a lawyer, whether you want to follow that strategy or not. Unfortunately, that's what it's come down to because of this determination and because of the relationships and the way that this company was structured. And so it's the final gift from Alex Mashinsky that he gave us, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, let's go with Hans Peter.
Thank you very much. Quick question for you, Simon. I'll give you a brief synopsis of my scenario, and then you can give me an answer. U.S. customer had a significant amount of loans and saw the handwriting on the wall shortly after the pause. Had a handful of loans that were starting to get liquidated. So I made the decision to close out the loans by paying back the amount that I owed, which then transferred that collateral into the custody account. I just recently received the ability to settle per the decision of the courts. Have you read through that? Should I wait on that until closer to the 24th in order to approve that, considering in essence I've basically gotten double screwed on it because I paid the collateral back and then I'm only getting 72% back? Is there any potential for me to relinquish the capacity of getting any of my other collateral back as a result of accepting that? I guess that's my question.
I did bring unpaid customer service Tony up because he's so close to the matters a lot more in these particular areas. I'm much closer in terms of the plan and various other matters. So Tony, do you reckon you'll be able to have a crack at that?
What's the question again? I apologize. I really wasn't listening.
All right, I'll give you the short version. I had loans, and right before they declared Chapter 11, after the pause, I put more money into the platform to satisfy my debt, which then transferred my collateral into a custody account. So basically, I've got Bitcoin and Ethereum sitting in custody as of now. I received an email the other day stating that I can settle for the 72.5%. My question is, by accepting it, am I, waiving or relinquishing any ability to get back the majority of the remaining collateral that I still have in loans, and also a bit that's in earn as well? Or should I just accept it and take the 72.5% and take the haircut?
No. So the settlement is only in regards to what's in the custody wallet. So you would get your 72.5% in 2 installments, and then whatever claims you have on earn or loan collateral or fraud or whatever, that is basically untouched. This is strictly whatever's in the custody wallet.
So just take it.
I mean, I'm gonna take it. I already took it. I already accepted. I'm not happy with it. I didn't want to give up 27.5%, but at the same time, I'm not looking to stay in this as long as I'm not looking to stay in this bankruptcy that long.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Tony.
Okay, thanks for that question. Let's bring on Bet with Competence.
Hey, can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Quick question for you. So my scenario is I don't have any loans, small custody holder where I was able to pretty much withdraw that 92 or whatever percent it was. And then the majority of my money is in earn, pretty solid amount. So I did just see that and hear that you're thinking about filing a claim. My numbers do match in the new schedules. So am I still required to file that claim, or is the reason why you're recommending to file that claim is because now the claim is only against Celsius LLC and not against the other entities within Celsius because of the organizational structure?
Yeah, so my non-legal advice is that they've extended the bar date because material information has changed that would harm creditors if they don't react. And so you have a claim for your coins against Celsius Network LLC,
right,
and there's nothing stopping you uploading a supporting attachment that may entitle you to additional claims against all the other affiliated entities. And so there's going to be a complex case, but I think everybody wants to reserve their rights that there were fraud, misrepresentations, and various other things that happened, and they would need to file a claim form in order to achieve that result. And it looks like, and that what David Adler originally advised to people is what happened. And so my current understanding is that everybody needs to file a claim form now, whether you agree with the coins or not. I'm hoping that this process is going to be simplified for more and more people, because I'm personally quite scared for how everyone's going to navigate this process. And so as a community, we're going to have to stick together and crowdsource it a bit. But more is going to be determined in court, and we've got a very important call with the UCC on Thursday. And I've signed a planned consultation agreement with the debtor So I can try and get as much information while working on plans and various other things. And they engaged me because they just, I think they wanted someone that could represent creditors that's not the UCC, but could also communicate some information back, and is qualified to be able to do that. So yeah, you need to file a form is what I believe everyone needs to file a form.
Great.
But don't do it now. Yep. Do it closer to the date, because I think a lot is going to be revealed in the coming weeks. So unfortunately, I know everyone's got fatigue, but if you've got decent money in Celsius, now is not the time to not be paying attention.
Okay, thanks for that question.
If you followed David Adler, the attorney, and also Ronan, Celsius Loans, they did it last time. They helped everyone with it. We're going to do it again. So just follow them, and they'll give you maybe not legal advice, but just overall advice on how to do it properly.
Thank you. Next question is from Dexter.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening to everybody. Thank you, Simon and Azad, for hosting this space. My question may be OBE by now. I've been a little bit out of pocket, but with EST tokens seeming to be the preferred method of every bidder, and the judge ruling that EARN does not have preference to mining, are bidders still looking to do those EST tokens with EARN customers? And if not, what incentives do we have to vote yes for any plans that are put forward?
Yeah, so the Nova Wolf plan and all competing plans and syndicates that I'm aware of all involve mining, and they're all moving forward with the assumption that mining is going to be the property of creditors as determined in court, based upon these intercompany loans, and various other things. And there may be a settlement, which is why people need to put in their claim form that they want to retain the right to those claims, and then there may be some kind of settlement. I don't fully know where it's going to go at this stage, but I don't think anyone from what I say, and I'll tell you if this ever changes, I don't think anyone's going to be issued an EST without the mining being an integral part of that.
I would really hope so, because that seems to be the best case to make creditors whole over the long term of the business. So, and last question for you, Simon. Earlier in the year, you were doing your AMAs while working out. Are you still working out?
Good question. I've taken 2 weeks off because I got a little bit ill, but as soon as I'm better, I'm back. I've been working out, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Let's bring on Alexander.
Hi, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. And just hello to everyone on the road. Simon, so...
It's a bit of a bad line. It's quite mumbly.
Seriously? Sorry, let me try to put this other phone in, because I'm just sitting actually at the desk. So, I hope you can hear me better. So, to my understanding, again, with the claim forms, that's now the fourth time that submitting a claim form is reopened. Is that correct? So, and I could...
Correct, okay. Yes. 28th of April.
So because I could go up there, enter my email, which I used for Celsius, and then they sent me this report. And I think, I filed this claim form before Midnight's Eve, right? This was like the...
Yeah, you filed a claim against all of the entities. Now you need to file a claim against Celsius Network LLC, and then a supplemental claim against all of the other debtors, entities within the group, and any other types of fraud, misrepresentation, or negligence you think happened.
Okay, and this is actually so because I also helped other people to file this form and stuff, and yeah, you just got a mail received, but if it was correct or not, nobody actually followed up. So, but I think... So that means if you already also filed a claim, you should do it again, because what brought to light that they have these intercompany loans and they want to kind of try to probably hide it, that you only...
Well, my understanding is if you filed a claim before against all the entities, it's been determined in court that you don't have a claim against all the entities at this stage.
Okay. So And I have a second question. Simon, now it turns out, okay, that we kind of in hyphens went from a fraudulent borrowing and lending company. I mean, we know that we were never profitable to pay these yields, to a crypto infrastructure company, right? I mean, we have Bitcoin, proof of mining, and Ether, proof of stake. So I would say crypto infrastructure. So you said, coming back to what and I don't want to make it about you, okay? But I mean, you seem to be also holding a lot of Bitcoins. And coming back to that, you said you met TeraWolf and Nova Wolf and the UCC. And we all, I think, in the community know, okay, what's the bet? The bet is to outperform the performance of Bitcoin with this platform transition. So what do you now hear it and got engaged with this Nova Wolf team? Is the management kind of capable to make this transition? Can you already say that?
I think no, I can't really give my advice on that because that would be considered investment advice. I believe that the management team have experience in mining. They have a lot of experience in structuring, and they have a regulatory framework that has half a shot at getting past many of the objections that will likely come from this. Whether their plan is better than a controlled Chapter 11 liquidation is to be determined, and I'm waiting for the full disclosure statement until I would be able to make that determination. But I think we have a group of teams and a group of licenses that could put something forward and get this out of Chapter 11. At the same time, I'm not sure if it would be better than a controlled Chapter 11 liquidation and giving everyone their coins. I'm almost certain it would be better than a Chapter 7. And I also know that there's a bunch of competing syndicates that might be able to do something that's more in line with what creditors want as well. And so all of that will be determined in the deadlines, and we should get a disclosure statement, hopefully, by maybe the end of this week.
Okay, next speaker is Scott.
Can everybody hear me?
Hey, Scott.
Hey, how's it going? Hey, I just got a question about Celsius loans. The majority of what I have on the platform is in loans. Do I need to file any kind of additional claim forms, or is the one that they sent out originally back the end of last year, is that sufficient?
No, I believe you would have submitted a claim if you submitted a form against the group of entities. You need to now file a claim against Celsius. I think it's called Celsius Network Lending LLC, and you only have a claim against that entity. And then that will be clear. There will be a settlement that comes through, and as part of that settlement, you may also want to retain the right to sue for fraud, misrepresentation, and various other things against the different entities, and that may end up in a litigation trust, or it may end up with just something you retain the right to, and there's class actions or whatever comes from it. But yeah, I believe, from my understanding now, you're gonna need to file a new form, and the other form isn't gonna give you everything that you might be entitled to.
Okay, next speaker is JCR. JCR, are you there? If not, let's move on to Ian.
Hey guys, hey Simon, everybody. I'm in a weird situation, I guess, just because my father decided he wanted to buy Bitcoin with his own money, and he bought it through Voyager, and then sent it to me because we wanted to earn in Celsius, and all this happened. So, my question is kind of a tax question, which I'm sure most people aren't going to be able to answer, but I mean, that claim is under my name, even though I didn't actually buy the crypto, my father did. And so how do I even go about my taxes for 2022 on this. Like, it's, I mean, do I did, obviously, it looks like I invested this money, but really my father did. But now it's all locked up in Celsius. So how does, it's just a weird situation.
I don't want to give tax advice, but it looks like your father gifted you some funds when he transferred funds from his Voyager account to your Celsius account. And there would have been a tax consequence for that gift that may need to be looked at. And then that may have determined your cost base based upon how your father filed that gift. And there's very strict tax rules around gifting funds. So I think if somebody had an account with Voyager and they transferred their funds over to somebody else, then they probably created a taxable event. And if it was done as a gift, there may be some kind of gift release. But the price at which you entered, the price at which you transferred to Voyager, and the price at which you transferred from Voyager to Celsius, and what happens with the plan will all be important things for your tax advisor and your accountant to advise on. But I think that's the kind of route you want to be going, that it's probably a gift, and there's strict rules around that in the US, is my understanding.
Okay, next speaker is Najanita.
Hey, how you doing, Simon? Quick question. On the claims, let's say if you, what for, in your opinion, if you don't file a claim, are you entitled to the default coins that you have a claim on then?
My guess is that what they'll say if you don't file a claim is that you would end up with an automatic claim, a bit like last time, where they'll say you don't need to file a claim if you're just happy receiving the coins just from the LLC. But there's a bunch of intercompany relationships that may harm you in that process, that until I really understand the legalese, may end up harming you in terms of your coin recovery. So I don't think not signing a form is really an option in my current understanding.
Okay. The other last question I had was it was actually for Tony around the custody settlement for U.S. customers. I'm going to see him on stage here. I don't know if he can come back up, but I don't know if anybody else can answer it too. Are you okay with me asking you, or we wait for Tony?
He's up now.
Okay, awesome. Tony, I got a question for you. So as far as this custody settlement, if you have an active loan, that the collateral is part of this custody settlement, correct?
No, the collateral is separate.
Okay, so it's not, okay, I'm a little confused there. So the collateral is not part of the custody settlement. Okay, that's really, and okay, well, one last question I had is that if you had a liquidated loan and the collateral was used to pay off the loan and there was some leftover collateral, shouldn't that have gone to custody? Because I see that it went to earn. For me, all that leftover collateral was moved to earned.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. It probably should have gone to custody, but from what they said, anytime you pay off a loan, regardless of the scenario, they just send the collateral or the remaining collateral back to where it came from. So if it started out in earned, then that's where it would end up.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Thank you. That's all my questions.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker is Crypto Girl.
Hi there, Simon and Azad and everybody else. Thanks for
Hey, Rebecca.
up. So I had a question. A few spaces ago, Simon, you said you'd been doing a lot of digging into the intercompany loan and into the actual amount that really exists, because, you know, it's a big disparity between the 9 billion and the 3.4 billion. nearly a 6 billion disparity. Did you find anything when you were doing your digging that might increase our recovery? I mean, if you found an extra 2 billion, we might all be made whole.
Yeah, so it's more around the structure of those, because I believe that some was held as collateral for a loan, and then who were the different loans of the entities, and then there was the mining loan. Was some of that the equity investment, or was it all client money that was used as collateral? I don't have the answers to that, but those answers will come out in court. So we will that will have to be known and understood in the docket. But in terms of, I think we've already paid for all the accountants and investigators. I think that's what all those bills were that we paid for. And I think they just determined that the accounting and record keeping was so bad, it's virtually impossible and would cost more than the entire estate to try and figure out. And so they had to apply an estimate. And yeah, that may become a contentious issue.
Okay, and I noticed today that there was a new filing on the docket for this company that's going to do the financial assessment, and that one of their particular expertise is that they are good at forensically tracing funds and fraudulent transfers and this, that, and the other. Is it your understanding that they may take another look at this whole thing, this big mess to do with the intercompany loan? Or is that not what they've been really hired for?
I don't know. I will try and find out, but I think they've been hired to determine the net asset value of the assets, and there's no way of determining the value of the estate and the net asset value without determining the intercompany loans. And so you could value the assets, but you need to know who owns the assets and what the legal relationship between those different entities were to determine net asset value. So I think that all comes out there, and that's what I think they've been appointed for.
Okay. And then I did want to ask the community, Manny has said we're the Bellwether people, and we had no idea that we would have to fully litigate our proof of claim, and it has to be bulletproof and fully litigated. So seeing as that's going to happen, I was wondering if there's any other people in the ARP class that Tony created who would prefer to have a settlement like Withhold has got, where they're going to get this 15% like bonus liquid crypto, and then they'd have less tokens in the new code.
So I think what you're asking is if anyone is what age? What age would you say that?
So I guess it's anyone who's 62 and above, who's retired. Maybe they're younger and they're retired and they're not going to be earning new income and can't really recover any other way.
Would you like them to DM you and take that responsibility?
Yeah, or just put a heart right now. Let me see if there's anybody who thinks that's a good idea.
Okay, so the idea is to, I think Tony originally suggested the idea. I can't remember it's on a Nova Wolf thing, but there are a class of people that are at retirement age and they can't really wait for a private equity investment to go. And whether you want to set up a group to try and represent the creation of a new class. I think that's if you're interested in that and you're over 62, then please do DM.
Thanks, Simon.
Okay, thank you.
I think.
Yeah.
I think. Sorry, when you say DM, who should they DM? Crypto.
Crypto girl. Don't DM
exactly.
me.
I think Manny's got a question.
If you DM me, you're not going to get a reply.
I just to Rebecca's point, we're definitely interested in mulling those sorts of things. And then also, if you think there should be something like that for people who file claims, good claims, DM her, DM me. Like, we don't know what to suggest, right? But obviously the claims process is becoming a big thing in the case. And whether it's something for AARP class or for people who file claims or something, maybe there's some value to preserving these claims and not throwing them out. I don't know. We're going to have to just see how it goes. DM me, Manny Main, if you're interested in something for people who file claims that's similar. And then I just wanted to briefly address the question that was asked about collateral that should have been returned to custody. Because they selected me as a bellwether claimant, I believe that issue is going to be fully briefed and litigated.
Hey Manny, could you explain to everyone what a bellwether claimant is?
Yeah, basically they took 3 people who had filed proofs of claim, me, Crypto Girl, who's Rebecca Gallagher, and Daniel Frischberg, and they've decided that they want to fully litigate our claims, which like could end up being in the style of like custody, withhold, earn hearing, like sort of a major, part of the case, and then see where that lands. So like they're gonna probably try to get them all thrown out, or maybe they come up with some kind of collective solution. Nobody knows. There's limits to what I can say because we're under some 408, which is a confidential. Like I'm not going to talk about conversations with the debtors or the UCC, but like what I can say is that we've been selected. That's been said in court, and we're in talks about how to go about it. So yeah, that's what the bellwether claims are. Basically to see if they get thrown out, or if they can be a collective solution, or if they're going to go piecemeal. But as part of that process, one way or the other, there's going to probably be a briefing of the issue of United States users who had collateral that the contract said should go into custody after April 15th. That's likely going to be one of the briefed issues that's going to be coming up in the court at some point. So we'll see what happens with that. No, it's hard to know right in advance how something's going to go.
Okay, thank you for that, Manny.
I think Natty's got a question.
Yes, I wanted to talk about the bids, but let me take 2 seconds. So I have shared the Celsius loan previous example of proof of claim in the nest. Also, what I understand is that there is liquidated proof of claim, which is the amount on the SOFA, which we have to file again the LCC, because this is the amount which is listed on the SOFA is our coin against the LCC. And then the second proof of claim we can file is an unliquidated proof of claim, which means there is no amount determined against all the debtor, and that may reserve our right if any positive litigation in the favor of creditor is done against the other entities. And as this is really tiresome to talk about proof of claims, we are waiting the disclosure statement, and I wonder if Simon can say anything about the competitive bids, because he mentioned in his videos that there is 4 syndicates who are ready to submit alternative plans. So I think this is important to take 1 minute to talk about that. And on the other side, yesterday there was all the regulators, the SEC, the Securities Board of several states who filed dockets to say we cannot give our approval on the actual pre-plan because it's not the final disclosure statement. And one point maybe Simon can give us his opinion is, does he think that regarding the licenses required, the lending, money transmitter licenses, and so on, Nova Wolf and Figure technology, not Figment, my friend, will be able to pass the regulatory, hurdles. Will all the licenses will be in place, in his opinion, for the Nova Wolf sponsor plan? And that's it. If you can talk about competitive bid, what is your expectation? And do you think this plan can pass the regulatory side? Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so the advantage of this plan is it's really built from securities laws in mind. And on top of, there's lots of, you've got your normal securities laws, and then you've got the Investment Company Act, which becomes a significant part of this. So making sure it meets the requirement of the Investment Company Act might be one of the contentious points. But all of the issues, when we were submitting a bid, we spent a lot of time with counsel on the regulatory issues. And what I can say is everything that we touched upon, they've touched upon. And so, you know, they've got every regulatory side. If this is able to get through, then they've touched upon all the key points that are going to be and potentially contentious. So it is a great piece of work in terms of regulatory compliance. Now, whether there's the appetite, here's what I think the politics are. I think regulators don't want to see the headline Celsius 2.0 reorg. I think regulators want to see the headline Chapter 11 liquidation. And I think it's just politics at this stage. So if the plan is here's a controlled Chapter 11 liquidation, or here's a reorg, politically, I think they want to see the they want to see, they don't want to associate the name Celsius with reorg. And that's going to be the major challenge politically. And I don't think that has much to do with regulatory, because Nova Wolf and the group that they've put together, I think has covered many of the regulatory points. Now, whether this can be framed politically as we got rid of that, fraudulent company, and we figured out here's a new regulatory model that complies with securities laws, to show that the US is competitive in the current environment. I think it's all politics, and I don't think these regulatory decisions and what's happening with Voyager and Binance is political. I believe, and so a US first company that has partnership with the only bank that's got a bank charter, with backups of money transmitters in order to be able to do custody and trading, with a staking business that is not framed as staking as a service like Coinbase, or leads to the creation of a new token like Kraken, and is part of a operating company rather than a fund, and has the tokens registered through a broker-dealer that also uses the exemptions in the bankruptcy code, but only sells to qualified investors that are worth a minimum of $5 million plus, with an unwinding of loans as opposed to, an ongoing lending business, with a plan that allows it to not be an investment company. That is the structure that, if anything could get approved, would get approved. And I think the UCC, Nova Wharf, and the debtor have put together a structure that if you can get out of this with a reorg, then this is the structure to get out. Now, that framework, which will come in the disclosure statement, then needs to go through a competitive process, and to be compared with a Chapter 7 liquidation, which I think will be the worst outcome, versus a reorg versus a Chapter 11 liquidation controlled. And I think competing plans need to come through with Chapter 11 controlled reorgs, Chapter 11 controlled liquidations, and this initial reorg plan. And it really, to get through, needs to be framed at, we got rid of all this fraudulent stuff and we're just allowing creditors to maximize the value of the assets. And here's a compliant way of doing it. It is the only acceptable political headline in the current environment. That's what I'd probably say on that.
Okay, next speaker is Thomas.
Hi, Simon. Hi, everybody. Simon, I got a question about the Cell OTC buys from the Cell token. With everything my good friend Cam Cruz has discovered, it's I don't know how to explain it. We bought the Cell token OTC, but the Cell token was actually never delivered on chain. So therefore, that contract is not valid because I paid for a product, me and many others, paid for a product that was delivered on app, but not on chain, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, do you know who you bought those tokens from? Which entity?
Yeah, that's I send you.
Check that. That's the
I
first one
sent
to
you a
check.
DM many months ago, I think, with the full contract of the OTC. But that's actually a good question. I don't know if Cam knows because I gave him my address and he checked everything out, and that was actually on chain. Was it never delivered? So I thought that was a clear contract breach between I don't know how to say I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, so these are depending on which entity that's against. So if again, not legal advice, but if Celsius LLC and yourself entered into that contractual arrangement, then you would want to add your claim against Celsius LLC, and if you wanted to reverse that, then you'd really need to hire counsel to figure out how to litigate that and file a motion and get counsel to determine that. Otherwise, you'd have a claim against the rest of the estate, and you'd add that to your claim form as an attachment with specific details on why you think that was a particular fraudulent case.
Okay, next speaker is Jovi.
Hi, Simon. Thanks for all that you do and all the information. I'm kind of new to the information going on today. So what I'm wondering is I'm just like a regular earn. I was staking coins on Celsius. It's sounding to me, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that now we have to file claims against multiple entities because the settlement money might be, stashed or spread out or whatever. Is there currently, I'm wondering with all these big groups, is there currently like an online platform where I can go to just get the exact form I need with the exact information I got to put on there? Because I feel like thousands of us
The
are
answer
all.
is no. Nobody apart from you paying a lawyer and a lawyer saying, I represent you, and you pay me, and if I get this wrong, I am liable to you. That's how a legal lawyer-client relationship works. Nobody is going to take responsibility because if it goes wrong, they don't want someone else to have recourse against them, and so
Right.
it absolutely sucks. But that's but as a community, you can. I'm sure people will create videos. I'm sure people will create templates. But I don't think anyone's going to create a centralized place unless it's done in a very decentralized way where there's no recourse against the people. Because unfortunately, in situations like this, people could do something with the best intention and then it backfires. And all
Yeah,
the lawyers
no.
and all the UCC and everyone will be thinking that way.
Yeah, I'm not talking about asking people to sign up as your lawyer. You also have to sign a lawyer legally to be shown that, oh, you actually represent someone. I'm just talking about how, like, does the community have a place? Because this gets
Not
complicated.
yet.
Not only that, if you hire a lawyer, they're going to take at least 33% of the small settlement you get from Celsius. Anyway, that's not a very effective way for creditors. I'm just wondering, where's the form? Who are the entities that I have to make the claim against? And, what do I have to fill out?
Yeah. So what I do know at this stage is you can file a claim form exists on Stretto. We should be receiving an email from Celsius in the coming weeks once more is known, we've got till the 28th of April. And if you are an earn customer, then you have a claim against Celsius Network LLC. And then an additional claim can be attached to that for fraud, misrepresentation, and various other things against the other entities. That's what we know so far. And there's a call with the UCC on Thursday where I think you should ask that question.
Okay, so I got
I think,
it. So it's
sorry to
basically
interrupt. I think Manny wants to respond to your question as well.
Sure.
Sure, this was based on something someone said a couple minutes ago. It just sparked an idea. It was what you said, Simon, about regulators and what they want. I feel like we as creditors, like collectively, should have some kind of backup plan for like what could be called a liquidation, if that's true. So like maybe a compromise could be the mining is spun off as equity, but the rest is a controlled in
I
kind.
think, sorry, that's a different question, Azad. I think it's a different topic.
Yeah, well, that's a topic you raised earlier, Simon, like maybe 5 minutes ago. Yeah, like you were saying.
Yeah, I think, sorry, Azad interrupted the other guy's
Oh,
question
shoot.
because he
Let
thought
the
you were
guy
going to answer
finish.
to
Let
that
the
one.
guy finish. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just gathering it's basically the same claim as I had before, except the fraud misrep causes of action would have to be tacked on.
I don't
you
think
can
it is the same claim. It's the same claim, but against Celsius Network LLC, which is a different entity. Before, your claim form would have been against all of the Celsius Network Limited and all of the affiliated entities. Now you've got to file a form against a new company, which is Celsius Network LLC, which is the company that you, it was determined in court that you signed the terms and conditions with.
Okay, last question then. So I see it's an added defendant is basically what we're working with. And then, so will Celsius, I know you said they'll be emailing us. Are we all going to receive a new form? Like, hey, do you want to make a claim against these guys, or is it just going to be on our own?
I don't know what's going to come next. I don't know whether Celsius want to help you sue their other entities or whether they just want to be factual, or I don't know. Then I don't think they're going to help you.
Okay.
I think they're going to tell you what they have to tell you, and not guide you anymore.
Okay, well maybe I'll just continue to rely on you. Thanks.
No, please don't rely on me. I'm not a lawyer.
All right.
Thank you, Jovi. Let's bring up Bug Out Fozzie.
What is up, intellectual of Celsius? Dude. Okay, so riddle me this: why is the litigation trust not going to be a portion of this, going after these other entities associated?
Yeah, they may be, but the UCC hasn't revealed the strategy based upon Judge Glenn's determination yet. And they're doing their first town hall on Thursday, and I'm assuming this will be one of the primary topics that they'll cover. I think the other issue is maybe they don't want to give the strategy because it's contentious and it's not in our interest. I don't know the answer to that yet.
Yeah, we know that's probably more likely. Whenever I originally filed my claim, it was against all debtors, but I do remember reading in the dockets that an actual very small percentage of creditors actually filed a claim against all entities. Most of them actually chose claims against Celsius Network LLC. But with that being said, since some of ours are against all debtors, what's being suggested now is that we're going to refile a claim against Celsius Network LLC and then include clauses for litigations. And I remember Atler saying several things that we should put in there: fraudulent inducement, violation of securities laws, RICO, breach of consumer laws, failure to obtain necessary licensing, breach of fiduciary duties, and breach of contract. Now, whenever I filed my claim, I included a clause in the back also referencing New York AG's docket and the examiner's report. Do you think I should still file just against Celsius Network LLC and include that clause, or should I just leave my claim as it is?
What I'll be saying is that with the information I have right now, and it's really early because I'm going to take right up until April the 28th, then I would be submitting a form for the coins that I have against the relevant entity, depending on whether you're in earn or borrow. Those other ones may have a settlement agreement that they may want to go through, and then they would need to attach what they want to sue the rest of the entities for. And then shareholders will do their same thing. And then we're going to find out in court over the coming weeks exactly what the determination is and who settles with what. But I think everyone's going to need to maintain their right to be able to. And in fact, that's what Judge Glenn recommended. He said that that's what we should be doing. And the EC3 said that as well.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why I did it. I immediately submitted the clause for reservation of rights and litigations beyond the scope of the bankruptcy and any entitlements I may have to recovery above the general scope of the bankruptcy court.
All right, thank you very much for sharing that. I'm sure that's useful, and I think people are going to pause the recording and write those things down.
I hope so. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker is Orpheus.
Hello.
Orpheus, can you hear us? You're next.
We can go back to Manny's topic as well. Sorry for interrupting you, Manny. I just didn't want to change the topic without addressing the other person's question.
No, on the contrary, I didn't want to interrupt the person. I know. So yeah, I actually, back before we move on from this issue, the shareholders, by the way, just to tell everybody, because this is public, because it was on an email with Chambers, the preferred shareholders are trying to insert themselves into the claims litigation, so they're going to be very active. So if anyone wants to make their claims, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Different parties, different ad hocs are all going to figure out, what's their strategy to get involved in the claims process and the litigation. Because believe me, the preferred are going to be trying to probably challenge our claims and do other mischief to try to get claims against the non-LLC entities, as they call them, or loans for the loans group. And yeah, I think what I'm probably going to do, I probably, if I can, I'm going to wait also until April 28th, just personally, if I can, and put in some claims against all the entities and, probably coins against the appropriate entities. But yeah, I don't know, Simon, if you have any other thoughts on that before I move on to the other thing.
So I covered the whole what shareholders are going to be doing in the YouTube video.
Cool.
And what shareholder claims there are and what creditor claims they are, and try to make it clear the different relationships. So, shareholders were misrepresented, creditors were misrepresented, and I think this is going to be settled in the Chapter 11 case. And then once that's clear, then I think the rest moves over to the litigation trust, but all creditors and shareholders will want to hold on to their right, and they'll submit all their claim forms accordingly.
Makes sense. I'll definitely listen to that. I obviously missed it, but I'll listen to the recording of it. So yeah, the other thing I was thinking about is what you said about regulators and what they want. And I was just thinking that, a compromise could be in-kind coins back where possible, and the mining is spun off. I think mostly, and it's a controlled in-kind liquidation, and that could sort of have the talking point of a liquidation. I think it's mostly, though, the loans group that suffers in that situation, right? Because it torpedoes their plans to be able to keep their loans going. And I saw California objected to the plan to sort of have the loans go on forever. But that's sort of central to the idea of sort of a haircut by another name that was sort of being proposed. So I do think that's unfortunate if they sort of if the regulators come in and sort of disrupt, say, the balance. But I guess we should as creditors maybe think about, and Celsius should think about what a backup plan is for a liquidation that sort of works for everybody, that could be called like a liquidation. But I think I would hope we at least sort of can preserve some value in the mining. In other words, assuming when the disclosure comes out, I know you were saying, Simon, you want to look at the disclosure and confirm that it's actually worth, more than just a controlled liquidation, right? But assuming that's the case, it sounds like I'm hearing a lot of people want to sort of try to save the mining. So I don't know how we think about making sure that happens, but just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. I was wondering if I could just interject a question, and then actually two questions, Simon. I don't mean to cut anyone off, but I've had my hand up for a minute.
Go for it.
Okay, great. So yeah, first of all, with regards to the original claim, I basically hit the box that said, I'm suing everyone. And there was a list of entities. And then I also filed the supplemental claim for, I think there were 13 causes of action against Mashinsky and Company. But again, I think you're right. It's something to look at again and maybe refile again, depending on information that comes to light over the next 20 to 25 days or so. First of all, how do you feel about that, right? I mean, I think that's just the smartest thing to do, regardless of how we filed the original claim, right?
Yeah, so my current understanding is that I'm an earned customer, and we've got lots of different claim forms to submit, so I'm just talking about myself as an individual capacity. But myself as an individual, I'll be filing a form to get my coins back from LLC, and I'll have a supplemental case of what to retain the right to sue all the other entities as well. But then there's other. I've got a slightly different case to everyone else.
Right. Okay. But I mean, originally on the original form, it was like you could choose each individual entity to sue, or you could sue all of them, right? And so if we already, as I understand it, if you're going to sue 10 people and the court figures out that you can only sue one, then they just won't consider the other 9, but they'll keep the one
sounds
that is
logical
actually,
to me.
Yeah. And then the supplemental claim, other than the fact that I was basically arguing that Mashinsky caused the fraud, the miscommunication, or the misinterpretation, RICO, and you name it, I think that would probably require just Mashinsky and any. I mean, you have to kind of identify those other defendants. It just sounds weird that you would sue them originally on the original form, but you couldn't sue them on the original form. You have to sue them supplementally on the supplemental claim form. That's just kind of confusing to me for someone that actually checked the box to sue everybody and anyone, and then as a supplemental claim listed out the reasons for why those other entities would be potentially liable for these actions of fraud or breach of contract, et cetera, et cetera. Does that make
sense? Yeah, I got no comment other than thanks for sharing that information. I think that's useful for everyone to know. Sure.
And then secondly, you said something interesting in one of these, to phrase you said the innovation is in the process. And, I understand, the way that I understand it is that we have a hole, and those coins are never coming back. And they want to dollarize our value. And they want to give us a certain number of coins initially. And then they want to give us, over time, whatever. My question is this: what's preventing us from demanding, and maybe this is something that you can put forth to the creditor, is, during the course of your lifetime in Celsius, the markets went up and down. Well, let's take the high point for every individual, depending on the length of the time they had their coins in Celsius. And that high point is the dollarized value that I want back minus the percentage of coins you're going to give me off the front end. So, for example, let's say my coins were worth 10 million at the top of the game, top of the market, right? When Bitcoin hit 69K, my money was in Celsius. I was lucky to have it in there. Let's just say other people had it when it was a 55 or 50 or 40. Maybe is the top end of my claim. They give me about, I don't know, 35% of my coins back. You subtract that from that 10 million. Let's just say now, for sake of argument, it's $7.5 million. When the market goes up to $7.5 million, you get coins. So if those coins go up to 250K, now you're going to profit on it. You've cashed me out. I'm happy because you paid me out at the top of my claim while I was in Celsius, and I have a percentage of my coins back on the front end. And who cares about the mining? Who cares about you managing this? I don't want you to manage anything for me. Just cash me out, whatever the tax liabilities are at that point. I'll pay for them. And because at that point, I assume 99% of the people, and maybe I'm wrong, would be in profit if we looked at the duration. And nobody wants to be cashed out.
Yeah. So let me try and let me try and help. The answer is you need to find a plan sponsor that's willing to outbid Nova Wolf and put forward that proposal.
But how do you feel about that
regulatory requirements? With all the licenses and the desire to do it. So that's the hurdle. If you can't overcome that hurdle, not going to happen. A trustee can take over and you have a Ponzi determination or a Chapter 7 liquidation, and you persuade the trustee that that's the way to unwind this process. But I don't think they will. So it's not the idea, it's who's going to do it. And you either have a plan sponsor that wins the bid, or you persuade the trustee in a liquidation trust to liquidate that way.
Okay, we've still got quite a few speakers on, so can we just keep it to one question each, please? Let's the next person up. Let's bring up Rob.
Thank you. I know you just made that comment, so I have one comment and two questions. I'll try to be brief. First of all, regarding the keep that was just proposed, I would really like to see the UCC oppose the key employee incentive plan. I believe $1 million could go much better purpose in hiring a new CEO than in retaining Chris Ferraro. So to the degree we can lobby the UCC to please to oppose this keep, I would love to see that happen. Two, one of the women I referred to the Celsius platform approached me last weekend, said she never accepted the terms of use, and so is anyone aware of what happened? I know 99% of people anecdotally accepted the terms of use, but is there a aloof creditors ad hoc committee that is formed, or anything in any of the rulings that have come out that people are aware of? And I'll just move forward with question 3 briefly, which is a broader big picture question. Regarding claims, if you prevail in your claim, aren't you simply winning a greater slice of the pie, an already damaged pie relative to other creditors? We're not talking if there is a settlement, say with a directors and officers insurance fund, that will just be split up pro rata across the litigation trust, et cetera. So in aggressively pursuing claims beyond your coins, where is that money proposed to come from? So in summary, 1, let's oppose the keep. 2, any word on the aloof creditors? And 3, where is this additional claims relief going to come from? Thank you.
I think all lawyer questions. Don't think I add much to it, really. So opposing keep is filing a motion or asking the UCC to object to it. To add context, I've pinned a thread to the top where I try to give all the updates that have happened, and one of them is that the debtor has filed a motion to pay bonuses to the executives, which it feels completely outrageous. for them getting a plan through. So they want $3 million of creditors' money in order to pay the executives. It feels like a banker's bonus during a bailout type clause. So I think it's going to enrage a lot of people. And some of the names on there will make creditors quite upset. I've forgotten what the second one was.
The aloof creditors question. Those that never accepted the terms of use.
Group for those that didn't sign the terms and conditions, and I haven't heard anything talked about it in court, so I'm not sure. If you want, I don't know if you want people to contact you if they're in that situation.
Sure, you could DM me.
Okay,
but we can start. I'm going to go back through the earned decision and see what I can find. But it might be another cause for relief. Clearly, my referral would love to have the credit or the custody treatment and not the earned treatment. So,
look, not legal advice, but just really quick on that. Read the earned decision. Read the claims process. Read about defenses to the contract. You either can form an ad hoc, right, or you have the option to make such a argument in your claim. You will minimally have to object to Kirkland's objection or respond to it, show up in court. You likely would have to request an evidentiary hearing, which is not easy. Get the contracts you personally signed or evidence you didn't sign again, not legal advice. You probably need to put forward evidence you didn't agree to the contract. You probably can't just say it. It's real work. You want to do that by yourself without a lawyer. You could try, right? Like, you got to sort of put something into the record that you didn't sign it and kind of prove it. And then Judge Glenn will figure out if you get any damages, right? Like what's going to happen. That's kind of, those are your options, right? You either form an ad hoc or you try to do it through the claims process. Those are probably your options.
Right. Yeah, I'll pass that along. Thank you. And then I just had the big picture question, and it's just relative to all these claims, right? This money is not going to fall from heaven. So we're just really prevailing against one another, even if our claims do prevail. That's sort of my opinion, but I'm happy to be corrected on that.
Yeah, so the goal of the plan sponsor, their goal, whether they achieve it or not, is that they want this to be a recovery that does people very well. They're in this for a multiplier. That's their goal. Whether we believe that or not is subject to the disclosure statement. And if we're going down the controlled liquidation route, then it's just about saying, how do we split the pie? And those are the two outcomes. And so we're either going to go down a reorg route where those that take the most risk are going to end up with a recovery if the sponsor creates something that creates value. And in terms of the new game, unfortunately, is that everybody needs to make their claims, because if they don't make their claims, then they might lose out on something that they're entitled to, because that's now what's happened with the way that Celsius and Alex Mashinsky set this up and did all the contracts and misrepresented so many people across so many different facets. There's two games, and that's it, really. So everyone just wants to make sure that they have everything that they may be entitled to, because they don't want to feel that they missed out on something just because they didn't file the correct form. And before, there was a very clear process when that was just against the entire estate. But now it's not against the entire estate, it's against one particular entity. And then you have to try and grab hold of any other claims. And if someone doesn't do that, they might end up missing out on something, which no one wants to do. So we're just trying to make sure people have the information, because it just got a lot uglier, unfortunately. Okay. Azad, are we at the 2-hour mark? Because I didn't want to go beyond the 2-hour mark. Do you know what time we started?
Yeah, we started about 7:40.
What's the time now?
So it's 8:35 now.
Okay, let's do just 5 more minutes and we'll keep it to the 2-hour mark.
Sorry, we started at 6:40. My apologies. All right, let's bring up Crypto Dude.
I'll do fast questions if I can.
How's it, guys? Alex Mashinsky, Chrissy Mashinsky,
are a piece of shit.
Okay, thank you. Agree with the sentiment.
Okay. Next speaker, let's bring up Natiba, sorry.
Yes, thank you for having me. Quick question on the claims filing. You can also claim the right that the petition on the date of bankruptcy sell us 81 cents. Is that also a claim you can file?
There was, as far as I'm aware, a bunch of cell token holders met with the UCC, and part of the plan, they'll tell you how they treat cell token. And if you believe what they're going to do is they're going to ask you to agree to a plan or not agree to a plan, and if you agree to that plan, you're probably going to have to opt out of agree to that plan. And if you don't agree to that plan, then you maintain the rights or you get crammed down by somebody else. So yeah, whether you put that on your form, it's an interesting question. I don't think I know the answer, but I've just given you what I do know.
Okay, thank you. And with the litigation in USA, if I file for fraud and everything, do I need to also implement evidence? And if I file that claim and I don't pursue litigation and somebody else sues Mashinsky or the other people, does my claim eventually get taken with the eventual verdict?
Unfortunately, the lawyer questions. It's the type of questions I'd ask a lawyer as well. I feel underqualified to answer.
Okay, cool. Thank you for your time.
Okay, next speaker, let's bring up Ryan.
Yeah, hi guys. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, Ryan.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm in every single bucket. But my one question is, I always agreed with the amount of funds that were in the system as to my initial holdings. So I never filed any claim forms originally, but now obviously we're all in the bucket of filing one or two of them. I'll certainly file one this time around based upon what goes on in the next couple of weeks of discussions, and we'll follow closely. But I'm kind of doing this for my sister-in-law and myself. Both have quite a large sum to claim. But is there the fact that we never filed claims originally, is that an issue at this juncture, or are we basically starting fresh up to the 28th to make sure our claims are heard?
Yeah, this is the beauty. From everything I know, it's you're starting afresh. So you have a new deadline, and it doesn't really matter what you've done in the past, is my understanding. So if you didn't file a form in the past and you file one now, I don't think that affects anything.
Okay, perfect. And then real super quickly, what the heck is Withhold? I mean, I got custody, earn, lending. I mean, but what is Withhold?
Yeah, Withhold. I covered it in the YouTube video, but essentially, everyone was in earn, and then it was determined that they don't have the licenses to offer securities. So the SEC then came along and said they were about to try and investigate and settle with Celsius. But the state regulators came along and said, you can't offer securities to these people in these states, so therefore you're in. They created a custody service. And then other state regulators came along and said, it's illegal for you to offer custody because you don't have custody licenses. So they put those coins in Withhold. And then there were other coins where they offered, say, like XRP or Binance token, where they may have been deemed securities. And so they stopped offering yield on those and put them in the Withhold service. So it was basically just a defense strategy against not having custody licenses, not having securities licenses, and trying to figure out what to do with people when they weren't lawfully allowed to provide that service.
Got it. Was Withhold within the app, within the states that it was applicable to?
Yes. So if you're in a state where they said it's illegal for you to offer securities and it's illegal for you to offer custody, then you would have been in Withhold.
Got it. Yeah, I'm in California, so I never saw that originally, and so I figured it doesn't apply to me, but wanted to make sure.
And it's only 14 million in the context of the whole estate. So if you're in it, you'd know it.
Okay, thank you again so much.
Okay, so it's 8:40. Simon, do you want to take a few more questions?
let's stop it at the 2-hour mark. I think what the whole purpose of this space, and if you haven't watched a YouTube video, then please do watch a YouTube video where I give like my background, my understanding of the situation, where shareholders stand, where creditors stand. And I guess the goal of this was to rip the plaster off and let people know what the current situation is. And then hopefully it just gets progressively better week after week as we understand more. I do want to leave on a positive note. And the positive note is that, yes, we're in this situation that just got a lot worse, and when everybody thought it couldn't get worse. But everything is moving at a very fast pace now. We're not at that stage where we're arguing about whether they can reorg or whether Celsius 2.0 is coming or whether they had the licenses or not, or whether we should be, all of the ridiculous things that we've just been messing around with for 8 months. We're at the stage right now where we know what the fraud is, we know what the misrepresentation is, we know that we all should be utilizing that. We know that there's certain games. There's a borrower settlement, there's a withhold settlement, there's a custody settlement, and something's going to happen with the shareholders and the creditors settling over the coming weeks. There are intercompany relationships that mean that we don't know exactly what's going to happen to the mining operation, but what is happening right now is Nova Wolf, an entity that does have the relevant licenses to execute a pretty hard to get through plan in the current environment, is putting that forward. And then it's a stalking horse relationship, and I know of at least 4 other bidder syndicates that would also like to put together slightly different flavors, whether it be a controlled liquidation, whether it be just handing over loans and taking on mining. There's a few different flavors. I have signed an agreement with Celsius in order to try and add as much transparency to this process and try and ensure that the Nova Wharf side is going, just try and add a little bit of additional oversight on top of the UCC as a different party that has experience in this, that has done this outside of Chapter 11, granted. And most of the issues moving forward to some kind of resolution, there are settlement agreements out there. The first set of people have started to receive their money. And we've got the bar date until April the 28th, where you're just going to have to remain somewhat engaged in this process. Don't tap out, don't get fatigue at the moment. I do want to manage expectations. I do believe that we're going to be dealing with this process probably for the rest of the year. Hopefully we something comes out sooner and various constituencies do settle. But just prepare in your mind that we're messing around with this thing for the rest of the year. You either tap out and just let the cards fall where they fall, or you decide that hopefully other people represent you, and you end up filing forms, and the UCC are there to represent us. We need to still hold everyone accountable. And one thing I said, and I do promise, and there's been various different stages where I thought, what the hell am I doing? But I made a commitment to stay till the end, and I will stay to the end and try and get the best result for everybody and report back and do everything within my power to try and make this situation a little bit easier for people. And I'll continue to hold these spaces enjoy the content. I know it's technical and no one really wants to go into that level of depth, but we're in this situation and we need to deal with the situation at hand. And by the end of this year, we'll all be out of this situation, hopefully a lot sooner, with an education and the ability to really learn the true power of Bitcoin. And remember, there's so many people in this world that are experiencing that need to learn everything about what a Chapter 11 is and what happens with their money at a bank, and what the power of Bitcoin is and what self-custody is. At least you've got a 1 year front run and head start of now really understanding the difference between Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, self-custody and custody, centralization and decentralization. What happens when you're at a bank and a bank goes bust versus what happens when you're in a legal company and that illegal company goes bust. And also that we all have recourse against Alex Mashinsky, and whatever happens from here, I think he's going to be spending money on lawyers for the next 5 years. And hopefully our recovery will be in proportion to the amount that he managed to extort out of this. So that is really all I can say from this process. And I know many of you have more questions, but as a community, we're all in the same boat. We're all in slightly different flavors of the same thing. And we'll keep going. And also remember sometimes to there are other things in life. I know a lot of people have moved on. This isn't the end of the world, whatever happens. And you just try and utilize this for what it is, an amazing education, and start over, start building and preparing for other things. Okay. I'm going to stop rambling. Thanks, everybody. And we'll upload this to YouTube as usual. Do me a favor. We need way more people that are creditors to see this content. So if you're happy with some of the work that I'm doing, I'd really appreciate a like on the YouTube videos, sharing this, adding a comment in the comments so that the algorithm, I'm trying to get my subscriber base for a little bit of a shield up from 90,000 to 100,000. So if you're finding value in this, subscribe to the channel. And remember, on every Friday is no longer dedicated to just Celsius stuff. I'm making sure that everyone's building and protecting their wealth with the current environment and the massive geopolitical situation that I've been trying to prepare people for the last decade or so. So, all right, see you next one. Thanks, everybody. Peace.